This is Things You Might Not Have Heard, and I am Jay Cleveland Payne. And in the queue for you today, 8 news stories that you vetted as conversational, covering information, politics, current events, and pop culture news. We're going to add in 2 quick stories in a bit because they're breaking news and they're basically need to be there. But we have 8 stories that you actually voted up. You actually gave us some vetting process work. You actually told us they're worthy of talking about, which is why they're here today. We're talking about the Arabian Gulf, which isn't really a thing yet and may not really be a thing, but we're going to make it a thing. Columbia University, which is going back to that old space again. And yesterday we had a touching, lovely kicker story. Today we're talking about a raccoon with a meth pipe. It's coming. You can't stop it. It's going to happen. We'll explain the vetting process just a bit after all the headlines. I want to tell you 3 quick things right up front. Our website home is a conversationproject.com. Look for us and see all the details, all the things you know about us to get into the groove of who we are, what we do, why we do it 5 days a week. Technically 7, but you can get there from the website. Also, email me where comments, concerns, all the conversation offline continues at the conversation inbox at gmail.com. And our sponsor for today is Ground News. Go to conversationproject.com/ground news and get in on a great deal, 40% off their Advantage plan, the full details of all their insights for news stuff. We'll explain how Ground News helps us every single day here at the Conversation Project and how it can help you in your feeds, in your inbox, in your phone as well. Today is Thursday, May the 8th, 2025. 2 quick stories that aren't headlines here. Number 1, or 3 stories technically. Number 1 is the Vatican and Pope, the search for the Pope. Black smoke last night for 1 vote. Right now, black smoke for the first votes in the morning. 2 more, maybe 3 more votes going on today. They're not expecting to get a pope the first day like they did in past because there's so many cardinals to choose from. Of course, last 2 popes, that both being Francis and Benedict, all voted in on day 2. We'll see what happens if that streak continues or we go a couple more days in the Vatican going for that one. The other quick story is Real ID Day number 1. Wasn't a total meltdown. A lot of stories about how frustrating it might have been, but wasn't too bad. Christy Noma is letting you fly, except it's a little bit longer in delays in your screening process. The 2.5 story is that Newark Airport still pretty much sucks. With that out of the way, let's get into the 8 stories that you guys told me to talk about. We'll explain how you guys told me and why I picked these in a minute. I actually had sort of the idea that I was going to do 5 days of Trump on the cover stories. And yesterday I didn't because I just could not get away from the dumb story. No pun intended. But here are 3 stories off the bat that are Trump related, Trump things he's doing, and Trump things that people are questioning off the bat. Story number 1, Trump to announce U.S. to refer to Persian Gulf as Arabian Gulf. Donald Trump is expected to announce this during his upcoming visit to Saudi Arabia, that the United States will actually refer officially to the Persian Gulf as the Gulf of Arabia or Arabian Gulf. This move aligns with preferences that several Arab nations have put in, but anticipated to provoke strong opinions from the world, specifically Iran, who are the Persians and consider the term Persian Gulf basically a shot to them at their national identity, which is where this whole sort of question mark came from, which kind of got to me in the first place. Let me read more about the actual article and then do a little bit of flabbering, gassing in a moment. Now, the body of water in question has been internationally recognized as the Persian Gulf for centuries, just like the Gulf of Mexico, with the name dating back to the 16th century specifically. Arab states, however, bordering the Gulf have long advanced that they should actually have the designation as Arabian Gulf because there are more Arabian countries there than the Persians, who no longer exist except in Iran. U.S. military has occasionally used the term in communications, but it has not been adopted for official nomenclature in the U.S. government. But this may be official come Trump's visit. Iranian officials have condemned the proposed change, labeling as politically motivated and deliberate affront to Iran's sovereignty and historical legacy. The Iran Foreign Ministry has warned that such a decision would be met with, quote, the wrath of all Iranians from all walks of life and political persuasion, unquote. The anticipated announcement comes amid heightened tensions in the U.S. and Iran, which gets even more heightened when Donald Trump's in charge. And concerning the nuclear negotiations that were not there, that Trump got rid of, that were coming back, and Trump is getting rid of again, observers are saying that this is just sort of thing to rattle the sabers for Iranians, if you will, and get them even more mad at us. Now, whether this is more of a gesture of Trump trying to cozy up to boys that he likes, or Trump is really trying to, troll the Iranians, we'll see how this plays out. But the trip's happening in a little bit, and Trump is expected to make this Gulf of Arabia, Arabian Gulf, because he likes the Arabians and he doesn't like the Iranians, who call themselves the Persians. It gets weird, it gets complicated, it gets really, really overly done fairly quickly because it's Donald Trump. The question is, just like the Gulf of America, who's going to actually recognize it, and will they get in trouble by Donald Trump because they don't? Members of the Les Mis cast are going to boycott a performance where Trump's going to visit the Kennedy Center very soon. In an upcoming visit to the Kennedy Center, about 10 to 12 cast members are on plan to not be in attendance in the touring production of Les Miserables on June 11th at the performance at the Kennedy Center, where Donald Trump will actually be there in the high-profile fundraiser. Both principal and ensemble performers have opted out of the show, exercising an option provided by the production to abstain from performing that evening. Now, that doesn't mean the show will not go on. Trust me, there's understudies for these types of things. They plan for these things, maybe not at this scale, but they'll figure it out. Protests follow significant changes to the Kennedy Centers since Trump took over and appointed himself as chairman of the board back in February, replacing previous board members with his own appointees like Laura Ingraham, Richard Grinnell, and of course, Mario Bartiromo. Trump has expressed intentions to reshape the center's programming, criticizing the woke performances because everything's about him and what's woke. More traditional productions, less people of color, if you will. Let's say less colorful performances, if you will. The response of the planned boycott, Grinnell condemned the actors as vapid and intolerant, suggesting that such behavior could impact their future employment prospects. Maybe not there, but in the world of theater, which means I'll probably get more jobs. He emphasized the center's commitment to being a space where audiences and all political affiliations can enjoy political performances together. He says that, yet the broader controversy and the tones coming from the folks who are now on the board is sort of a thing. Figures like Issa Rae, Shonda Rhimes, been phones of all several times with Kennedy Center because, diverse stuff and them not being so diverse. Term productions of Hamilton was canceled. And of course, Les Mis was thought that it might be in jeopardy. It's going to happen. It's going to have, a modified cast, understudies, things going on to make it happen. So it will happen because the fundraiser is so important. Just won't be the big dogs on stage that day. One more Trump thing, and he didn't really do anything that was solely overly objective, if you will, but he said a couple things that happened adjacent to him that were Trumpy things in a way. And I have to get my Trump deranged syndrome stuff out of the way, I guess, today, because he's done a lot this week. So the inaugural meeting, Donald Trump with the FIFA World Cup Task Force happened yesterday. And in this meeting, where Trump apparently signed another executive order, because he does that all the time, he actually made a little statement out there to all the fans coming into town to watch the World Cup, or into the states, you'd say. Many towns are sharing it. Also, some North America work with some Canada and some Mexico as well, because we have enough places. Basically, make sure you don't overstay your visa, because we'll get you. We'll deport you. We'll find you and send you somewhere. Maybe Guantanamo, maybe to El Salvador, maybe to Alcatraz. Who knows? Whatever's open, we may send you there. Now, U.S. officials issued this warning for international fans traveling here to make sure you have fun, but go home when it's time to go home. J.D. Vance emphasizing that we want them to come, we want them to celebrate, we want them to catch the games, and we want them to go home when time is up. Secretary Kristi Noem is basically on the job, saying that Ice Barbie, as they call her in some circles, is supportive and will make sure that she will take care of the folks who are sticking around too much. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy stepped in as well, echoing the sentiment, saying current visitors to explore the U.S. during their stay, but don't overstay. Don't stay too long. While Homeland Security Secretary Noem did assure that the department is already processing travel documents for visas for folks coming in, with about 2 million foreign visitors coming into town, they will have their eyes on them pretty closely to make sure no issues are there. You would think that we're not sending the right message with these folks in these messages, but these are the messages that are the right messages per the administration. They want your money. They want your eyeballs. They want you to come visit for this short period of time, but they won't want you sticking around. Don't use this as an excuse to find your way in here and make any anchor babies or something like that. President Trump said the U.S.'s ability to host this is the biggest, safest, most extraordinary World Cup in history, because everything's the biggest and most extraordinary, and significant economic benefits with about a $50 million in output and 300,000 jobs for the temporary time per FIFA president Gianni Infantino. Andrew Giuliani also got into this thing. The son of former Mayor Giuliani, appointed an executive director of the World Cup Organization Task Force. Carlos Cordion, former U.S. Soccer Federation, is on there as a senior advisor as well. 2026 will be a big year for World Cup for FIFA in the United States, plus Canada, plus Mexico, hosting 78 games in the U.S. and 104 matches altogether. Administration had a strict stance on visa adherence, of course. And if that's what you're leading with, well, that's what you're leading with. The U.S., us, are getting a reputation not being friendly to foreigners in any cases, whether you're legal or maybe you're here on an actual valid visa. So we have these issues. Not knowing will there be any sort of holdup for people coming in and extra screenings for them coming in general and extra screenings going out in general. But we do know that the government, the administration, is on the lookout in 2026 for thousands, hundreds of thousands of people coming in to watch soccer games and then making sure they leave as soon as their teams get bounced immediately. We have to go back to the Red Sea. No renaming that one yet because I don't think Trump's going to want to go against Jesus or something like that. But we're going back to the Red Sea because there are issues. Now, a few days ago, we got the announcement that the Houthi fighters are going to stop shooting bombs and shooting missiles and stop attacking warships in the Gulf, in the Red Sea, which is great. That's awesome. This is going forward. And because of one attack there, we lost a fighter jet, a FA-18 Super Hornet, fell into the sea as a maneuver went to try to dodge some missiles, and it wasn't docked right and it fell into the ocean. This time, another one fell into the ocean, fell into the sea, fell into the Red Sea. A second one in 8 days, going how just hard these things are to do with. But this had nothing to do with anyone trying to attack us. The Harry S. Truman, USS Harry S. Truman, was essentially just dealt with failure of the arrestment equipment. Basically, the cable that stops the plane from going overboard did not stop the plane from going overboard. The pilot in the plane was rescued by helicopter, so he was safe. But yes, another $67 million airplane in the bottom of the ocean. This time, no one to blame but ourselves will. These are things that I guess happen, and so you just kind of go with them. But this is the third plane. I think all three were Super Hornets to fall off the Harry S. Truman in a while. The first one happened in December, down by friendly fire. We literally shot it down. The last one was, of course, 8 days ago, where they were using evasive movers, and it went off the plane that wasn't quite moored yet. And this one was simply just not quite ready to hit the deck, period. What does this mean for us, U.S.? Well, we got to buy some more planes, which we're going to buy anyway. But it also just kind of sparks how these incidents happen and concerns what's going on and the safety involved. The pilot in the plane is fine. Everyone is okay. And other than losing the equipment and having to deal with that sort of shock and this sort of dealing with this as a news story going forward, other than that, I think we're all good. Here's the part where we take a pause from the news stories. We give you a bit of a palate cleanse to kind of take in the four that went in. A whole lot of Trump in the first half. 4 more to go for this Thursday. We need your help, though. That's why we take this pause. Just a chance to see how we're doing, engage with you guys, and let us know, how we're doing. We ask you at this point to like, share, and subscribe to the videos we produce here for the Conversation Project, and here specifically this edition of Things You Might Have Heard. What it does, it helps the show, helps us grow and become a smarter, more curious community. Now, when you like this show here on Facebook, on X, and on YouTube, I get to see that you enjoy what we're producing. You enjoy the news I've given you. You enjoy the comments and coverage I've got you. I've not done a poor job of mumbling and stumbling and saying too many times. I did a good job, and these are good stories here. And you're telling me to keep doing stuff like this. You're also telling the algorithm that the stuff I'm doing is pretty good, and it just showed these things to other folks. They will hopefully watch it, hopefully enjoy it, and like and subscribe as well. Now, if you know people who enjoy this type of news coverage, what we give you at the Conversation Project, and full explanations come from the end of the week, is a chance to engage in stories you want to engage in and tell me what stories are really worth talking about so we can talk about them in the next iteration. You get a chance to be a part of the show and guide the actual coverage of the news. So if you know people who enjoy this type of news coverage, this type of commentary, or maybe you want to hate me together, share it with them. Hopefully they'll watch it and subscribe as well. And of course, if you're not getting this native in your feed, if this was fed up to you by the algorithm or by a friend or friend of me who wants you to hate watch this as well, subscribe. Make sure that we're directly in your feed so you get the notifications when we go live or get our replays all the time. What's old is new again as pro-Palestinian protesters occupy Columbia University's library room. Yesterday, pro-Palestinian protesters occupied Columbia University's Butler Library, leading to a significant law enforcement response and multiple arrests. The demonstration was organized by Columbia University Apartheid Divest, or CUAD, a student-led coalition advocating for a university to divest itself of all companies that are linked to Israel. Protesters renamed the library the Bessel al-Arab Popular University, because they can, in honor of the Palestinian activists killed by Israeli forces in 2017. University administrators reported the demonstrators forcibly entered the library's main reading room, refused to show identification, and ignored orders to evacuate the facilities. 2 campus police safety officers sustained injuries during the incident. In response, Columbia's acting president, Claire Shipman, requested assistance from the New York Police Department, with 75 to 80 individuals being arrested in the end of the melee. The protests and subsequent arrests have drawn national interest, which we knew it was. Marco Rubio, the U.S. Secretary of State, announced a review of the visa statuses of non-citizen participants, because that's what we're doing these days, referring to them as pro-Hamas thugs. Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, and Governor Kathy Hochul condemned the occupation, emphasizing the importance of maintaining safety in order to campus, because the feds have already said their point. They didn't have to get sort of the ugly words, but you can kind of figure out where they're going with this one. This was actually a part of a broader pattern of pro-Palestinian activism at Columbia University. Of course, previous demonstrations from the past summer, which have caused a lot of issues, and calls for an institutional devastation of entities associated with Israel continue to keep going on. Students think they have a say, and I say it that way, particularly think they have a say, so they use their say to see what's happening. In some cases, things are negotiated because it makes sense. In other cases, it just gets to be a melee such as this. Scrutiny and pressure from federal authorities to handle these situations, said that on purpose that way, such as protests and campus policies, have been in place, which is why we had the Rubio thing saying, we're going to look into the visas. We're going to do some work to make sure this thing's taken care of, just in case Columbia can't quite figure it out themselves. We go back to Memphis, where 3 police officers have been found not guilty on the state charges in the death of Tyre Nichols. Tennessee jury acquitted 3 former Memphis police officers, that's Darius Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Justin Smith, of all the state charges, including second-degree murder in the death of Tyre Nichols from 2023. Nichols, was a 29-year-old black man who died 3 days after a violent encounter with police during a traffic stop. You may remember all the videos, the Viper Squad, all that stuff like that, Poison Squad, whatever they called it. This was a big deal. Video of the officers kicking and beating and hitting him with a baton while he was restraining and crying out for his mother surfaced across the internet. The footage sparked nationwide protests, intensified calls for police reform. Despite these acquittals on the state charges, all 5 officers who were involved in this are still facing their federal charges. Haley was convicted on violating Nichols' civil rights and obstruction. Bean and Smith were found guilty of witness tampering. Other 2 officers, Emmett Martin III and Desmond Mills Jr., pleaded guilty to related charges and are awaiting their sentences coming forward. This new verdict actually reignited some discussions on police accountability and systematic issues within law enforcement. We haven't talked these up in a while because we had any big profile issues going forward. We had other things to kind of, shake our fist at lately. But the civil rights leaders and Nichols' families have actually expressed outrage and are emphasizing the need for comprehensive police reform across the board. Memphis has troubles, has issues, and it may be a lovely city, but it is in the deep underbelly, has some issues going forward. And the police department Scorpion Unit, that's what it was called, the Scorpion Unit, which went through to and was disbanded, was a way to go through and sort of jack up hardened criminals, get those guys that you knew were the bad guys and get them out of the way as quickly as possible. Inside the Scorpion Unit, sort of a fraternity of bad behavior came about because you could take on the bad guys, so be bad about it. And this is what happened to that one. Justice Department actually investigated, concluded that department was routinely using excessive force and engaged in racial discrimination, which is a bit sort of on the nose, as many members of the Scorpion Unit were black people, and they seem to be targeting black people. There's a $550 million civil lawsuit still up against Memphis and the officers involved, not quite resolved yet for the Nichols family. I put this story in here. It did get response, and now I didn't pull stories out of nowhere today. So both the stories here and sort of the double kickers are stories that got some response. This one was one that was kind of snuck in on me watching some videos online, and so I looked into it, saw what's going on, and I thought Christina with a K would love this one. She's not gonna like the next one, trust me. Chaos unfolds at Baltimore Book Festival as Fantasy Ball turns into Fyre Fest. The A Million Lives Book Festival, which was held May the 2nd and 3rd of this year in Baltimore at the Baltimore Convention Center. Very lovely place. Seen the place myself. Has been widely criticized for its disorganization and unmet promises, drawing comparisons to the infamous Fyre Festival. Marketed as a premier event for romanticy enthusiasts, that's a word apparently, the festival promised a vendor hall, author panels, cosplay meetups, and the highlight lavender romance ball. However, attendees and authors reported a lackluster experience, sparse attendance, minimal decorations, and inadequate amenities. Authors, some of whom invested significant funds to actually attend, expressed disappointment over the event's execution. Complaints included last-minute accommodation changes, absence of promised materials for promotion support, financial losses due to low turnout. In response to the backlash, organizer Grace Willows issued an apology and offered refunds to attendees who requested them by May 31st. So you don't have much time, but you can get that money back if she can find it by the 31st. The shortcomings of the festival sparked broader discussions about accountability and professionalism in event planning and within the literary community and just in general. We talked about the Fyre Festival #2 being essentially canceled and the IP being sold if somebody wants to put it on because of bad management by that one. We talked about Fyre Festival 1, obviously going forward. And we've talked about the whole experience with the Willy Wonka thing that happened overseas about a year or so ago that was viral for just the bad experience there. As a person who has put on some events like this, and in some cases, oddly enough, in the military, as a second lieutenant, you plan a lot of big parties and put on things in these levels in my private life and in my corporate life with radio, and some things here, oddly enough, as in education. These things are hard to do. These things aren't easy, and you have to really look into who's going to show up. And this was something that apparently was a grand idea with all the folks, and like the Bridgerton ball that was bad a few weeks ago as well. Forgot about that one. People thought the hype would basically bring folks in, and it didn't. It made things go terrible, and the setup itself was just bad on its own. This was a bad experience by all. Hopefully you have that receipt and get that money back by the 31st. And finally, I promise this is one that you guys really want to get into. This is one that had plenty of engagement, so this is not me cheating today. The headline for story number 8 for this Thursday: Raccoon with meth pipe found in car during traffic stop bust. Because why not? A routine traffic stop on May the 5th in Springfield Township, Ohio. Police officers made an unexpected discovery. A pet raccoon named Chewy sitting in the driver's seat with a methamphetamine pipe in its mouth. The driver of the vehicle, a 55-year-old woman named Victoria Vidal of Akron, initially pulled over due to an active warrant and suspended driver's license. After detaining Vidal without incident, Officer Austin Brandon returned to the vehicle and observed Chewy with the drug paraphernalia, prompting a further search. It wasn't so bad, and then it got worse. Seizure of the substantial quantities of methamphetamine, that's a word, crack cocaine, and 3 used glass meth pipes. Vidal was charged with third-degree felony drug possession, 3 counts of possession of drug paraphernalia, and cited for driving under suspicion. Also taken into custody by Saratoga Falls police due to her outstanding warrants. Authorities confirmed that Chewy was unharmed during the incident. And here's the real kicker of the kicker story. While Ohio law permits raccoon ownership with proper documentation, it remains unclear whether Chewy will be returned to Vidal's care. We don't know if she actually had the paperwork for Chewy, but because raccoons are technically dogs, if you have the paperwork, they are exotic animals. So they're in the dog family, they're not actually rodents. You can actually own a raccoon if your papers are good. We will see if Chewy's can be returned to Vidal, if Vidal ever gets herself out of any custody anytime soon as well. So much for that silliness. Let's go to 3 more stories that we're putting out here for today that are queued up, ready to go for you to engage in. Now, the engagement is very simple. Follow us on our feeds on Facebook and X, facebook.com/thisisconversationproject.com and x.com/th_conversation. If you're watching us on those channels right now, you'll just stick around and we're in your feed. Sometime today, within the span of the next the full 30 hours of this, we call this day, we'll have these 3 stories and more for you to engage in. Just engage in them in the feeds, and we'll get a chance to maybe talk about them tomorrow. Carrie Lake is announcing partnership between its conservative outlet OAN and Voice of America. Voice of America is back, and OAN will be giving it some of its life, some of its details. We'll see how that works out. Utah quarterback, that is Utah, the college quarterback, Cam Rising, is going to medically retire from football after a 7-year college career. That's a hell of a story going forward. And Mother's Day is coming up soon. Days is going on. We have sent off our Mother's Day gift to our mom, or my mom, or JJ's grandmother yesterday. So it should be there by Saturday, fingers crossed, per the U.S. Postal Service. But maybe you're not getting something for your mothers this year. You're trying to find something a little bit on the cheaper end, as Mother's Day spending has dropped about 14% this year, with people scaling back because the gifts they're going to buy cost more due to tariffs. Tariffs are everywhere. We can't get away from tariffs. Now, our spotlight sponsor for the day is Ground News. And we went ahead and went with Ground News and swapped it out yesterday, as I did a story on Shiloh Hendricks, the lady who dropped the racial slurs on the 5-year-old and is now a internet sensation with folks in the conservative crowd and may earn $1 million on a crowdfunding source. That story is in our feed. Go look for that and get into details on that one, because I finally had a take on it. I don't think it's as spectacular as many folks have done, but if you're looking for something, it's there, and you get my opinion on that in that one. So I'm not going to do it here and ruin this one here. But Ground News is a website and a app. It's a news aggregator, if you will, where it uncovers where your news comes from, which is why we get so tossed and turned in our news coverage. People have their own choices for news, and people who are really into news and people who more like me, who are sourcing things because you need to find out different things that other people are talking about, will go to multiple sources to see what people are talking about and why. The whys are extremely important. But the who's are also important as well. Ground News really tells you the who's and gets you past the unbiased opinions based on your bias you're looking for, and see what others are looking at and talking about. It's local, it's national, it's global news. They allow you to diversify your sources, highlighting missing stories from your news outlet and stories that are overdone by other ones. They have a blind spot feature that shows you different political leanings in the crowd, some that get ignored, some that get overblown because one crowd wants you to see something more than another. And you can essentially do what you should do going forward. Do your own research by actually researching other materials that are the opposite of what you're normally getting, and form your own opinion based on your information. Maybe you're getting something that's being force fed to you, and then you look at someone else and says, this is something different, and you can think about it differently. Or maybe you're being force fed something, look at something else and saying, no, they're right, I'm right, those people are just crazy. Cut through the noise yourself. Focus on the facts that come in both ways. You can download it for your app on your phone, or you can watch it watch it on your computer, on your screen. There's email newsletters that come with Ground News that gives you things there as well. And we want you a part of this right here. 40% off their Vantage plan. We get you the full blow, all details, the bigger, deep dive into all the newscasts at the website, our website link for affiliates. This is theconversationproject.com/ground news. This is theconversationproject.com/ground news. This is a site that we pay for and we use daily to just check out things and just look at other stories. When we see some stories that are getting coverage where we're looking for them in our aggregators, want to see how they're being covered in a fair manner, or see things that just pop up in one place and wonder, how come we're not seeing this anyplace else? It's there. Some of our odder stories we get from Ground News by using the blind spot. Some of the stories we use from Ground News, we confirm that they're getting basically balanced coverage, but we'll take something like a conservative headline and link it to the liberal story and see what happens when people click on it. We do that as well. But you can go beyond the bias and get the true headlines, and then go beyond that and see what people are actually talking about in the news stories with Ground News. Check it out at this is theconversationproject.com/ground news. That's an affiliate link. We get a small commission for you using that link to buy into this one, and 40% off their Vantage plan and their other plans as well at Ground News. The Conversation Project lives online at this is theconversationproject.com. And this is a website. This is a movement, if you will, where we want to talk about news that reflects what you care about. So we put it out there and you click on it and you tell me what you care about. Follow us on our feeds and It all happens. It all works. You tell us the stories to pick from. We put them in a pool and we see which ones work out best for the iterations we do here. It is your news. It is not just what the loudest people are screaming, not just what is being pushed by the administration, not what's being pushed by press releases either. It is you choosing stories that we pull from everywhere. You tell us which ones are good to talk about. That's simple. Remind you that our website, again, this is conversationproject.com, and our email address, the conversation inbox at gmail.com. Our feeds, our links, our pages on Facebook and X. Facebook.com/This is Conversation Project and X.com/TH_conversation. Every 50 minutes or so, we're posting news articles from various sources, and we need you to just engage in it when you check in. Don't go every 50 minutes, but when you go check for other stories, you want to see what Elon's saying on his X platform or what your friends are still sharing on Facebook that time of day when you do check to see who have birthdays. We know you used to check for birthdays on Facebook. See what we have going on in our storyline and engage in some to let us know what stories are worthy of chatting up. Like them, love them, hate them, share them, engage in them, reply to them. Please read them and get the full stories and not just go off the headlines. And the higher engagement score we get, the better chance to talk about them the next day. We'll take the top engaged stories of the day and we'll get them into the fit for the actual broadcast. On Monday, we put 10 stories in because we have 3 days worth of work to do. For Tuesday through Friday, it's 8 stories from 1 day's worth of work. We'll see what happens in tomorrow's version based on what you confirm on today. And with that, we'll wrap up for today's version and get prepared for tomorrow. It is Thursday, May the 8th, 2025. My name is Jay Cleveland Payne. I thank you. I thank you for being with us. It's a part of the show, part of the family, part of what goes on in the News Nerd Nation. Now, help us grow this by sharing it with more folks and liking the videos you're watching so the algorithm will share it with more folks. Consider going to our website, and once you're there, consider clicking on the partnerships page or the sponsors page and helping us out going forward. But make sure you're definitely following us on the feeds because it costs you very little, next to nothing, and see what stories are get caught in your craw or make you scratch your head and go, are worthy of chatting up in our next iteration. One more for the week. That's on Friday, and of course, the weekly roundup for Saturday. Sunday, some busy things happening Saturday, so it's going to be delayed on that. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But we love you. We mean it. We need to see you here tomorrow. So let's do this. See you here tomorrow.